here. We use science and reason. Get used to it. My name is Reniah, and I'm here interviewing Dr. Felix Wozniak, planetary scientist.
I'm going to ask you the question.
What?
So, Reniah, are you ready to submit a scientific paper?
I am. I have a ton of research that I'm ready to submit. Okay, I can do that.
Anybody can submit a paper to a scientific journal, but you have to be ready that it is going to be scrutinized by experts in the field. So if you feel that your research has been done up to a good standard and using the scientific method, anybody can submit a paper. You bet.
So you don't have to be a scientist or a doctor or a...
You do not have
astronaut?
to have... No, you don't have to be a PhD or...
Okay.
You can be if... you don't have to be. Now, no. But if you're good, if you've been doing science in your garage for years and you've been doing it right and you're using a scientific method and you've come up with something, you can submit it. And then you have the benefit of people who are well versed that the editors in these journals know about. They will subsequently review your work, and if it's up to standard, it's published, and you are now a published scientist. So let's have it. Do it.
I'm going to publish a paper. Scientific peer review is a system to assess quality before publication.
That's right. It was research that I did in the lab, and then I wrote it all up, thought it was really good, and then I submitted it to a scientific journal, a space and planetary science journal, because that's how scientists share information. Now what he does, what the editor of the journal did, he sends it out for peer review. And what peer review is, in my case, it was other planetary scientists just look over the work, make sure it's up to standard, make sure that it's competent, that I'm not just some unqualified person that wrote them, to make sure I did proper science. And the purpose is, because new ideas are the whole purpose is for new ideas to get published. But this is a quality check.
Okay, so my question is, someone like me couldn't review a paper that you wanted to submit for peer review because I'm not a planetary scientist.
Well, that's right. Like brain surgeons review other brain surgeons, planetary scientists do planetary scientists, because who else? There's no one else that's experts in that field. So it has to be that sort of person. Right. So then the publisher, he sent me the reviewers' comments back. Now, I didn't know who these guys were. It's anonymous. That keeps it honest. So there's no friendship involved. There's no anything. You don't know who these people are. And I looked at their comments, and then most of them I thought were very good comments. I incorporated. There's some things where there's a little bit of a back and forth there. The things that I felt were worthwhile, I acted on, improved the paper. Some things I argued. I said, no, I did this because of this. I explained why I did things a certain way. Then the reviewer sends my comments back to the publisher sends my comments back to the reviewers to see if they agree. And then once they agree, then the publisher the editor of the journal makes a decision as to whether he's going to publish. Yeah. Okay. Right. And then eventually, then it's up to the editor of the journal to decide whether a paper gets published or not. So other scientists...
Dr. Wozniak, where are all these papers that everyone is reviewing? Where are they?
Right.
Internet?
That is an excellent question, because the public is like, you guys, if scientific peer review is the process you use, where are all these papers? And the answer is, they're actually not that easy to get your hands on. They're kind of expensive. When I was in grad school, I had a library account, and the library has prescriptions to all kinds of different scientific journals of all types, and I had free access. I got papers that were published in the 80s. I had papers from the 70s from Dr. Carl Sagan. He did research on Saturn's moon Titan. I would get the latest breaking papers, but I had through the library, they had subscriptions. They were able to get me these papers. And if they didn't have a subscription, I could do a special request. They would special order and get me a copy of that paper. So for the public, it would actually be expensive to have journal subscriptions or to get papers from different journals or to get just individual. You can find individual papers on the internet, but then to get the whole thing, you'll only get the abstract and maybe some graphs. You won't get the whole thing. That costs money. Once I graduated and got a job in private industry, I no longer had access to the world's scientific papers. I miss it. I want to get that back.
Okay, so hold it up.
So Reniah, so one of the big question is when you're looking at the media, the internet, and there's all these stories out there, fear-mongering a lot of times, how are you going to tell if it's peer-reviewed science or just some person, saying some crazy thing? Well, it's not always easy. Some magazines, like if you go to the newsstand, New Scientist magazine, everything that's in there is peer-reviewed. Their stories are all based on, and at the end of the story, they'll even have a little, it's not a link, but they'll have, if you type that in to Google, it'll take you to the journal where the peer-reviewed work was done. Nature magazine, you can also buy at the newsstands. It's all peer-reviewed. That's one of the premier, that's cutting-edge science. Other articles and things, you kind of have to read into the article and see what they said. They said, are they basing this on university research or perhaps NASA research or something like that? That gets tough. There's a lot of misinformation out there. That's where it gets tough as to is this science that's been done up to standard? So.
Thank you all so much for joining me here in beautiful, sunny California, and I do hope that this video helped you to gain a better understanding about what scientific peer review is. Thanks.